Thank you to this week's sponsor, Everbee. As someone who's been doing conventions since 2017, I have a lot of experience under my belt. There's a lot of conventions I've done, maybe only one time, but there's plenty of other events that I've done multiple times, especially being mostly within California, and some of the events I've done don't even exist anymore. So you bet that I have a lot of opinions on which events that I've done are the best that I would love to return to continuously, or the worst that I hope to never ever have to be at again. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Ashley of Lay Spirit Designs, and today I would love to talk to you about the top 5 best and top 5 worst conventions I've ever done. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss any other convention content on my channel. Before we dive into any of the experiences that I'm going to talk about, I want to remind you all that my experiences and my ratings are based purely on my own experiences. There are some of the events that I talk about that maybe were worst for me, but some of the friends and associates that I know love these shows, and vice versa. Some of my best events are some people's very worst events. So please take the information with a grain of salt if you're doing research for events that you would like to attend. I would also like to explain that my rating system is going to be based on my overall experience with the staff of the event, the attendees of the event, and just general happenings in the city that we happen to be in, how my income was versus the expenses that I had. And I would like to remind you that every single event that I discuss on this list, both good and bad, I have done individual vlogs for on this channel. So I will do my best to link them up here at the top. But otherwise, you can go through my entire Artist Alley playlist and find them for yourself. We're gonna start off with the really juicy stuff and talk about my top 5 worst events that I've ever done. We're gonna start with number 5, and that was San Francisco Fan Expo. We did this event one time in 2022. I believe it took place in November. Again, all the data is going to be in the vlog that I talk about. I believe this event was pretty well organized. Communication was okay. It was a 2.5-day event. That means that the first day it started was similar to other events that I've done where they do like a preview night. So you have all day to set up, and then that evening for typically VIPs, you get to go in and sell for a couple of hours, and then Saturday, Sunday were full days. If I recall correctly, the price of this table was really not too bad. I don't remember if it was a 6-foot or an 8-foot, but I remember there being a lot of really empty tables. And the neighbor that we had never showed up, so myself and the vendor on the other side of that empty table ended up kind of merging to fill the space, because what we've learned over the years is if there's an empty table in any part of the vendor hall or the artist alley, people are going to flock to that and like put their stuff down and just kind of camp out there. And we didn't want to have any of that going on. I remember when we were driving up from Fresno, which is where we're based, we got stuck in really bad traffic going into the Bay Area. So we ended up, I think, dropping off our stuff that night during preview night and then setting up Saturday morning. So we completely missed the preview night. That was probably a little bit part of our own poor planning. We don't go up into San Francisco very often, so during a weekday, we didn't really anticipate what the traffic was going to be. So if that's an event that you're ever interested in doing, definitely take that into consideration. One of the worst parts about this, I think, was the ratio of autographs and attendee ticket cost versus the artist alley and the vendors. Most people had spent quite a bit of money on their badges, and then they had some really incredible talent there doing autographs, and those were all very expensive. So all of that cut into our profit margins. And staying in San Francisco, if you don't have somebody to crash with, or if you're not living in close proximity and willing to drive, you're gonna be paying a lot of money for hotels and parking. We stayed, I think, walking distance, but I think we ended up driving. I don't remember. It's been so long and I blocked out a lot of this show. But we spent a lot of money at our hotel, and I think it was $70 a night to park. On top of parking near the convention center was like, I think $40 a day. So I believe that we got away in the green, but just barely. I've never done this show since. I'm pretty scarred from doing San Francisco based shows because of this. but also Fan Expo shows in general I tend to stay away from because of this experience. Number 4 on our list is our local show, Hauntmare Expo. This is one that might not appeal to a lot of the general anime crowd, but being an original artist and having a lot of spooky cute stuff for sale, I do pretty well at Halloween and horror themed conventions. Hauntmare Expo is a brand new show to the Fresno area, which is where we're based, and it had its very first year in 2024. I was invited to apply to this show and I was really excited about that, and the table cost for a 10 by 10 vendor space was really, really affordable. So the first year we went, all things considered, it was really great, and I really loved how the show was run. There were a lot of snags because it was a first year show, and attendance was probably lower than I would have liked it to be, only because advertising was kind of an issue and it happened to fall on the weekend that school had started back. So I had a lot of hope for how year 2 would be run. I got invited back again, I paid for my space again, it was still very affordable, and I knew that the event was growing. So it grew from 2 buildings to I think 4 buildings at the Fresno Fairgrounds, and we ended up being in a secondary building and not the initial building like we were the first year. Unfortunately, the second year that we did it, the communication still was okay, but advertising for the event was somehow even worse, and the people who did end up going were either really turned off by the ticket prices, or the ones that did pay for the ticket prices had absolutely no idea that there was a completely separate building from the first one you go into, because they had no signage or any kind of flow to direct you into the other buildings. We got almost no traffic at all, and I think we ended up packing up early both days of the event and just kind of cut our losses. Because there's not a lot of really lucrative shows in the Fresno area and we have to travel, I do my best to support our local shows, and I do think I want to give this one more try, but I was pretty burned after this year, so I have extremely low expectations moving forward. Convention number 3 on my list is going to be Salt Lake FanX. This one came really highly recommended to me by a friend, and I saw a lot of people speak very highly about this convention online. So in 2022, I wanted to try it out for myself. This was our very first out-of-state show, also my very first time flying to a show, and I took Ryan with me. If you don't know who Ryan is, that's my fiance. I also knew that the artist alley tables at this show were really competitive and they sell out very quickly. So I wanted to try this out in any desperate way that I could, so I ended up settling for a dealer's table. That was something that's not quite an artist alley table and not quite a vendor spot. So something in between. I think it was priced higher than an artist alley table, but it was the same size as an artist alley table, and there weren't that many of us. I don't honestly remember any communication about this show. I think it was all just like general emails of like, this is load-in info, here's the map, etc. There wasn't anything special we had to do. I didn't have to get a Utah sales permit beforehand. I was able to do all that stuff there after the show was over. And even though I had my table assignment, when we showed up there to set up, nobody could find our spot. It was really scary and frustrating that even the staff didn't know where the dealer's hall was. And we ended up being in some like weird miscellaneous unmarked spot, sort of close to the autographs, but like we were just kind of an afterthought. Everybody else had big banners above like the artist alley or the vendor hall aisles. We did not have any signage to let you know where we were. So even though people were following me pretty prominently online to look for me at events, almost nobody could find me. So that paired with the high cost of travel, and this is another show like the Fan Expo shows that has a ton of really huge autographs. And I'm not sure about the ticket prices. I wasn't doing that research back then, but the autographs were huge. This was, I think, right after Stranger Things 4 aired, and they had quite a bit of the cast there, on top of like all kinds of other amazing shows. So like, even I was like, I can't compete with this. I also remember, because we flew, we thought that we would have decent walking distance from the hotel to the convention center. And Salt Lake City, at least the area that we were in, was not very walkable. There were a lot of sidewalks that just kind of ended, and the sidewalk was terrible for dragging your suitcases around. So this was a huge learning experience for us, and this was the first time that we left a show in the red. That being said, it's been a couple years since I've done this show. I've learned a ton from it, and I would love to have the opportunity to do it again. So even though this is number 3 on my worst conventions I've ever done, I've only done it the one time, and I think there's a lot of redemption that could be had from this show for me. Number 4 on my list, if you're in the Central Valley area, you might recognize Lodi Comic-Con. I'm gonna honestly say there's really nothing wrong with this show. This convention is part of the Stockton Con area circuit of conventions. They do Stockton Con in winter and summer, and then Lodi Comic-Con they do in fall and spring. So there's 4 shows, 2 of them for Lodi, 2 of them for Stockton. I've done all of them except Stockton winter. I've done all of the Lodi shows and I've done Stockton summer several times. There's nothing wrong with these shows. The communication by the staff and the organizers are incredible. The cost is really low. I've just outgrown these shows. I did both of the Lodi Comic-Con shows in 2023, and even though they have a great turnout, I think that my booth and my products were just a little bit out of people's price ranges, and I had outgrown shows like that by that time. So I wasn't bringing in the profit that I needed to justify spending an entire day at a convention. And these are one-day events, so I was able to travel to and from in the same day, so we didn't have any travel costs except for charging and gas, and of course eating, but they just weren't worth it for me at this point in my career. However, if you are just starting out and you're in the Central California area, I would highly recommend starting at these shows because they aren't overwhelming. The expectations are a little bit lower and slower, so you have time to learn and just kind of figure out how conventions work. So if that gives you any kind of perspective on how I'm rating my conventions, like this one just wasn't very profitable for my own standards, but because they weren't very profitable, they have ranked my second to worst conventions. We are down to the absolute worst convention I have ever done, and before we get to that one, I would love to speak to you guys about this week's sponsor, 𝐬𝐵. If you've been around my channel, you already know about our sponsor this week, 𝐬𝐵, and you'll know how great they are for small business owners utilizing the tools they provide to get the most out of their Etsy listings. And if you've been even remotely interested in using 𝐬𝐵 to kickstart your big Etsy breakthrough in 2026, it's time to get excited because their Black Friday deal is coming very soon. Be sure to click the link in the description below to get notified when you can take advantage on huge savings for the leading Etsy research tool. 𝐬𝐵 has been an incredible sponsor of this channel over the past year, and they have helped me see tons of growth with my Etsy shop. And if you want to launch your own big Etsy breakthrough in 2026, be sure to click the link in the description box below so you can get notified when the Black Friday offer goes live. Thank you so much to 𝐬𝐵 for sponsoring today's video. And with that, we are at number 5. The worst convention I have ever tabled at is hands down Umecon. Not to be confused with Umecon, which is a completely different, I think, Midwestern convention. I've never done that one before. Umecon is what was a 1-day, now 2-day show up in, I don't even remember where it was, San Jose, I think. But this one came highly recommended by some other mutuals when it was a 1-day show. And the year we did it was 2024, and it had just started as a 2-year convention. So we booked the table, we booked our hotel. Our dog was having a lot of health issues, and we went regardless because I needed the income. I needed the money to help fund vet bills. This event was hosted in the conference rooms of a hotel. I don't remember what hotel. And the ticket costs were so outrageous for this event. And in the year 2024, even though I firmly believe that masking, etc. works, they were requiring masks and vaccine cards at the door for attendees. Even though there's an entire hotel of like possibly unvaccinated, unmasked hotel goers, at the same time, people were being turned away at the door. It was very disappointing. And the event was dead almost the entire time. We left within 4 hours of day 1. We let the staff know we were leaving and why. And we pushed our hotel to another date for another event, and we went home to our dogs. There are not a lot of events that I would do this about, and I tend to give a lot of grace to events that start out pretty slow. Sometimes the first couple hours, people don't really know what's going on, they're starting to look around, but there was no excuse, and especially hearing that people were being turned away from this event, I just couldn't support that. I didn't even chase a refund, I just kind of let the cost go. And the few dollars that I made, I took it and spent it on vet bills. So this is absolutely one I would never do again. The video that I did about this event was I think I was really angry, and I was probably saying a lot of harsh things, but there's a lot more details in there. And a lot of people were also really upset. I don't know anybody who was at that show that weekend who did well. So it was just overall really disappointing. And the fact that they went on again to do another show this year, very disappointing. But I haven't heard anything about how that one went, so I'm not sure if they improved anything or not. But 0 out of 10 would not recommend the show to anybody ever. But let's get on to the fun stuff. Let's talk about my top 5 best conventions that I've ever done. And number 5 on this list is Sakuracon. This is an Easter weekend convention up in the Seattle, Washington area. And I was so excited to do this for the first time this year in 2025. As far as I understand, this event is completely lottery based for the Artist Alley. There might be some jurying going on, I'm not entirely sure. But this was, I believe at this point, my 3rd out of California event and my 2nd time flying to an event. And because the costs were going to be a little bit higher, I had learned from the previous times, and I actually went to this convention by myself. I did not bring Ryan, I did not bring any friends. I just trusted the process, and I got to room with some friends. I got to spend the entire convention with some friends, and I had a great time. Now, if you know anything about Sakuracon 2025, you'll know that there was the infamous cheesecake fire in the Cheesecake Factory at the bottom floor where the Artist Alley was located. We lost, I think, most of the day on Saturday. But despite that, I still did really well at this convention, and I'm dying to try this again. All things aside, like, communication was great. I know the staff did everything that they could during that situation. And I know that this is an event that the Seattle residents save up for year-round. So I really hope to be back for 2026. Number 4 on this list is Level Up Expo. This is a huge gaming convention in Las Vegas, Nevada. This was my 2nd time doing an event out of state. We did this event for the first time in 2023, and because we are relatively close to Las Vegas from Fresno, Ryan and I drove to this event. I was a little bit nervous about flying, but we do have direct flights as well, so I knew that if I wanted to do this one in the future, I could definitely fly. But this one was so much fun, and this is a very heavily juried show. We did this one for the first time in 2024, and we got waitlisted for this year, 2025. But I'm very excited to say that we will be back in 2026. One of the most exciting things about this event is that the Artist Alley has a booth contest, I guess. Like, whoever has the best decorated booths, like, could possibly win a free booth for the next year, or like a discounted booth for the next year. So I was excited to debut my new booth at the time, even though it was on a 6-foot table. And now that I've glowed my booth up even more this year, I'm excited to bring that one for 2026. Number 3 on this list is WonderCon. We've done WonderCon 3 times, 2022, 2023, and 2024. And even though I have a lot of beef with how this con is run, it's genuinely one of my favorite ones. The attendees are incredible, and it's so much fun to be in Anaheim and be around like the Disney vibe. And this is one of our most profitable shows that we do. I didn't do it this year, 2025, only because when I went to reapply, my link wasn't working. And I don't know if it's because when I posted my vlog about the 2024 WonderCon, that maybe they just deactivated my account because I had some choice things to say about how that convention was run that year. And I haven't looked again to see if it's open for applications at the moment, because I would love to do it again. Part of the other issue that I had with WonderCon is that it tends to be at the same time as other conventions that I do, like my local spring convention, and there has been other situations where it's also on Easter weekend, so it would be conflicting with other events. So because this year I got into Sakuracon, I wasn't really looking to book WonderCon because it was going to be a lot happening all in a very short amount of time. But I know that sometimes they do overlap, so I'm still not sure if I want to go back to this one, but it's nice to know that it's an option and it's at least closer than Seattle. But attendees do miss us there. Like, I have people who would return year after year saying, oh, we come to your booth all the time. I typically am in the front, so they know where to find me, and the energy is just really incredible, and it's a huge convention. The second convention on this list, my second best event that I do, is SacAnime. And I'm not even going to put summer or winter on that because every SacAnime I do is incredible. I've been doing SacAnime since before COVID. Actually, I think in 2017 when I first started tabling was the first time I ever did the show. I think it was my 3rd or 4th event ever. It's cool because I know this show has been around for a while, and I've kind of grown with it. So when I first started, it was a much smaller show, even though it was still really overwhelming and incredible. But when it came back after COVID, I felt like it had grown even more. And then as I've been growing my business, it's been growing to these incredible amounts. And I don't even think you can consider it a mid-level convention anymore. Like, it's pretty up there as one of the biggest conventions in the California area. But I have nothing but good things to say about this show. It's gone from a first come first serve artist alley basis to a lottery to partially juried to fully juried, and it's become really coveted. And I feel like maybe I'm a little bit to blame because I've been putting out SacAnime vlogs of all kinds for years. So the communication between the artist alley directors and the artists is always amazing. Melissa is very transparent, and it remains to be one of the most affordable anime conventions in California. And attendees show up. They show up for us in huge numbers every single year, rain or shine. And even though this show has changed layouts almost repeatedly over the last couple of years, people still manage to find me. And the same people have come to shop with my booth for almost a decade now, because gosh, it's almost 2026. So 𝐿SPIRIT Designs has been around for almost a decade. So it's one of my very favorites. This show, typically if I've done really well at other shows, this one will kind of come along and be like, no, this one remains to be in the top spot. But this year, it actually has been beat out by my #1 best convention I've ever done for a multitude of reasons, and that is Midsummer Scream. Like I said, my clientele reaches the anime people, it reaches the normies, and it reaches the Halloween goth crowd. And Midsummer Scream is probably my very favorite convention I've ever done. This is the one event that I say if I was not tabling as an artist, I would attend this one no matter what. As a big spooky lover at heart, there's just so much about this show that scratches the itch. The people are incredible, even though it's in Long Beach, and Long Beach is really expensive, and the booth is the most expensive booth that I do. This, at least in 2025, was my best convention that I did. And it typically goes neck and neck with SacAnime every year, but the crowd just gets better and better. And the booths that are at this event are just insane. When I was first going through my glow up phase to be less of a generic artist alley booth and more of like a cute shopping experience, these were the booths that I referenced. The talent that is packed in this one convention center for a long weekend, it's just unlike anything else. Not to mention they have events, they have so many panels, they have, if you're into like Halloween mazes, they've got all the theme parks that come and talk about their spooky stuff that's gonna happen in the October months. And they have a whole room dedicated to scare mazes. Like there's a good, oh my gosh, I think almost 10 mazes every year. They've got food and drinks. They've got people dressed up in scary costumes that walk around. It's so cool. It's the coolest event. And we make really decent money there. It is a fully juried show. You're not supposed to split tables, and it's one of the few events I do that you have to get insurance as a vendor. Fully worth it. Whatever the price is, like it's gone up for 2026, but I haven't gotten my acceptance quite yet for 2026, but you know that I will be extremely sad if I won't be there for August of 26. So that is my top 5 best and worst conventions that I have done to date. I would have loved to explore more out-of-state conventions in the year 2025, but the economy has been just a little bit unstable, so I just keep doing what I know until things kind of settle down, and then I would love to explore those options some more. But let me know in the comments down below how you felt about any of these. If there was anything on my worst conventions list that you think I'm completely insane for feeling, or if there's any on my best conventions list that you think that I'm insane for loving so much, I'd love to hear about it and your own convention experiences as well. And of course, if there's anything you would love to see me at, please let me know in the comments down below, because I'm always looking for different events to apply to. My next event is actually going to be local to Fresno. That is the Artsy Tea Club pop-up in Fresno, California. I haven't been to this one in a long time, and it is definitely one of my very favorite events, so I hope to see you guys there if you're local. And if not, we will be at SacAnime Winter in January. But maybe I'll see you soon at a convention near you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!